Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Anne and this is the Health Hub. If it's your first time here, make sure you like, you comment, and you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so that you get notifications of my videos. And make sure to follow me on Instagram, honey, and underscore message. That. Today's video, I will be giving you the 411 when it comes to GPing and everything that you need to know when it comes to GP. There's this whole situation of doctors being unemployed in South Africa, and I feel GPing is something that you can do in the meanwhile, just until you get to where you want to be in life, or you could just pick GPing as a career path. Let's start with what is a GP. So GPs are general practitioners. How the medical sector is set up in South Africa is that everyone graduates as a general practitioner. We all then thereafter do internship, which is 2 years, where we rotate through the various specialities, departments, etc. Thereafter, you are then meant to do your community service, and once you are done with your comserve, which is 1 year, you are then able to open your own practice as a GP, because you will then have your MP number and you will have, met all requirements that are required before you actually branch out and do whatever it is that you want to do, be it specializing, be it opening up your practice as GP, be it going into corporate medicine, lab medicine, whatever. So the thing with GPing is that in South Africa, it's a very lucrative, career path that doctors do take. And the nice thing about GPing, especially in South Africa, is that it has a lot of money. There's GPs that get paid more than specialists. So there's GPs that definitely earn more than specialists with successful practices. GPs are the richest doctors out there, guys. And there's money in GPing. So I'll be giving you the ways in which people make money when they decide to take that particular career path. So I already mentioned it's what happens post-concept. So let's go into why people become GPs or choose this particular career path. Number one, people who tend to pick this career path are people who just genuinely don't want to work for people. When you open up your practice, you have a business of your own, you're running your own business, you don't answer to anyone, you're doing your own thing. Some people have dispensaries within their GP, which I'll delve into how to do that. So it's basically people who have that type of personality, and people who are into, people who are business minded tend to pick, this particular career path because there's a lot of money there. And people who generally just want money without having to also work hard for it. People who are not into studying sometimes take this career path and are not interested in specializing. For them, this works because, they get to do whatever and see anything and everything, because they can tailor their GP based on what they actually like as as a doctor and the type of things that they like to see as doctors. So those are the types of people that tend to go into GPing. So the other reason why people tend to choose this career path is people who are also community type, based people who like, who want to settle in a particular area, and, they enjoy having to see the growth and their contribution within a certain and particular community. So I think that's the nice thing about GPing, is that it grants you that. You see your patients' kids, you see the families. It's a really nice, field to go into, and it gives you that type of satisfaction. You are your own boss. You tailor make your practice based on the stuff that you like. You don't have to specialize. It's one of the only fields that will give you as much money as you would make, if not more, as a specialist. I don't know what's going to happen with this whole NHI thing they're trying to bring in, but that's how they capitalize. They capitalize on that broken system. That's what GPs do, because most people with the issues that come, having to visit public clinics, public hospitals, even though majority of people in South Africa are low-income people who can't afford medical aid, they will spend that bit of money that they have to go see a general practitioner to try to avoid that whole thing of sitting in lines, going to clinics, spending the whole day waiting in a clinic, and etc. The requirements to become a GP are simple. You need to have finished your internship as well as comserve. After you've done that, you get your independent practitioner certificate with your MP number. Then decide on how you want to customize your GP practice, because that will determine the type of certificates and stuff that you will have. So some people, if they want to be GPs who have an aesthetic element to them, they'll do GPing. They will have graduated and finished internship and comserve as GPs, and also done, maybe an aesthetic course, and they'll integrate that into their practice. So some people are into surgery, can have surgical courses. Other people who are into HIV medicine will have maybe an HIV diploma and, specialize in that. Not specialized, but you know what I mean. have that be your focus as a GP. So it's like you're a specialist, but you're not. The other thing that you need is a practice number. Anyone who is supplying a healthcare service needs a practice number. Laboratories also have practice numbers, pharmacies, things like that. Anything that's health related, where you are giving out a service, you need to have a practice number. Some of the requirements were that they needed HPCSA certificate, which is what you get after having completed comserve, that whole independent practitioner certificate. And obviously you have to be up to date when it comes to payments for your license and all of that. They need ID or passport number, dispensing license if you will be dispensing from your practice, which I'll get into that on how to get that. So yeah, so I mentioned you just go on that website and register. So there you are able to see there's different specialities that you can register for. So it basically will guide you to say, are you a lab, are you a pathologist, what are you, whatnot. So you'll select the GP section and complete the form. And I think the whole thing, last time I checked, was around 700-800. Have to submit forms to say that you are getting remuneration outside of your main government job. So then when you're signing for, so you basically go to HR to get those forms in your hospital. And then after filling in the forms, you have to have your HOD for your department that you're working in to sign, to say that basically the forms, they want to just know that you are going to be working in your practice only after hours, essentially. So only after maybe 3 weekends or whatnot. And the hours have to tally. So most people will lie when filling in these forms, so that they make sure that they get approval. So after you sign the forms, they get signed by everyone. So they get sent to the main like provincial type Department of Health, where they get signed, and then they respond to you with an approval. In order for you to get a practice number and you are working for the government, you have to have that form attached to your application. So it is important that when you are applying for the practice number, you already have this form signed up if you are working for government. But if you are not working for government, it's a seamless process. You just need to just apply. Then the next thing that's important is the dispensing license. This one is not a necessity, but most people prefer going to GPs who are able to give the medication. That's just how it is. Like, people won't want to see a GP who won't give the medication, because they want to know if they're paying 500, they're also getting if they're paying 500 for consultation fees, they're also getting medication included within that particular fee. So in order for you as a doctor to dispense, you need a dispensing license. So where I got my dispensing license, when I was thinking of second options or had so much time in my hands to get a dispensing license, so how I got mine was through FPD. I think there are other places where you can apply, places that offer that course, but the one that was easy for me to apply for and see was from the Foundation for Professional Development. So I just searched dispensing course, and then I picked one in the closest area in my province. I went to East London. It was 5 days, and they basically teach you a lot of stuff that they teach to pharmacists, that we as doctors don't cover in our curriculum, like how to dispense, how to even write a note when you are printing out stickers to put into those pill sachets, how to design that. A lot of stuff that's required by law from someone who dispenses to know. So that's also something of importance. The course all in all costs around 7,000. So I'd say 10, including transport fees, and if you need to go sleep wherever you are, if you are far from wherever you have to write. So the whole cost, surrounding that was 10K. So that's something that you can have. It's not a necessity. You can get it after you have accumulated money from your practice, so it's not a requirement. So once you have those 3 things, then you are ready to set up your practice. The main logistics that come into opening a practice are things like capital. Do you have money to open the GP practice or not? How much will it cost you? Is it an area that has high competition? Like, are there 20 other GPs in the same area? Those are the things that you look for. It's like any other business. You want to be in an area where there will be a high demand and low competition. That's how it is. And it's even better in areas where things like rental will be low, because there's costs associated with starting, and those are not major costs. Things like stretchers, things like specialized equipment like ultrasounds, ECGs, you can add on once you've made money from like the practice. But it's mainly just literally a table, 2 laptops, a reception area place with a divided reception area with a bathroom and like a stretcher, and things like medical equipment, maybe needles and things like that, gel codes. You basically, I feel like you can build on those things, but I don't think the costs associated with it are a lot. But I think most people will advise that you have at least rental for the first 6 months, or you're able to at least pay salaries for the first 6 months based on the need. So that's why most people will still work for government until the practice is well established, so that they are able to be comfortable financially to quit their job in government. After you've gotten your practice number, you got an approval for a lot of the stuff that I mentioned, and you are ready to go. The important thing is to set up software so that you're able to bill your patients, because you'll be seeing both cash paying patients and medical aid patients. So there's things like health bridge and etc. You can just Google, and then they will give you quotations. But most of these places or software companies will bill you based on your billing, basically. So they'll say, okay, for every patient that you claim for in terms of medical aid, we want like 5% of whatever amount it is that you will have claimed for. So you find that you don't have to pay like a monthly fee towards them, which is good, because then based on how much, how many people that you're seeing, you are able to sort of pay them without paying them. Essentially, software to take medical notes is important, because a lot of private patients sue. So one of the ethical requirements that we have as a doctor is record keeping. Especially if you're going to see pediatric patients, you have to keep those records for up until they're like 21, and if they're disabled, for life. So otherwise you'll get into trouble. So there's a lot of ethics that surround record keeping. So some people will go like the digital, which is better. Some people still have those notes and pen and paper files. So yeah, the other important thing is also medical like protection. So most people go for MPS. I know PPS also offers, so you'll just call the companies and see which company gives you like, a cheaper quote or whatever, or best cover in terms of what will happen if you get sued. That's medical protection essentially as a doctor. It's not as much as what gynaes pay, or obs and gynae doctors pay, but you have to also make sure that you pay for it. Some people say it ranges around like 1.2 point something a month that you have to pay just in case. The other thing that goes into it is marketing, hiring of staff. Personally, I feel like you probably need just one person, and maybe you can get a staff nurse, not even a staff nurse, like someone with like a course in something health related, so that they're able to at least take blood pressure, be able to check blood sugar, read how to read like urine analysis and stuff. So those are the most important things. But I also think that's an add-on. I think that's an add-on. The most important person is maybe just a receptionist, so that when people arrive there, there's someone who's there. And if you're still working in public, you can get called to come in whenever. So yeah, other than that, let's get to the real part. Why GPs are actually rich and how they make their moolah. Oh, hectic guys, hectic. Sometimes I'm just like, am I in the wrong career path? Because wow, like if you've seen a successful GP, you're just like, oh my goodness, what am I doing with my life? I'm a failure, literally. So so there's various things, methods that GPs use in order to make money, and let's get into them. Setting up in a good place with minimal competition, because when there's less competition, people have no choice but to come to you. And best believe people will still be sick. As long as they are still breathing, they will come to you for some or other reason. So setting up in a very good position, that on its own can make or break a GP, location. So location is very, very important. So if you set up in an area in a small town where you are the only one, best believe you're going to be rich. Whether you are charging 300 per consultation, whether you are charging 450, Oksala, you're going to be rich. And most people will come to you, especially if you are a dispensing GP, because that is what is preferred by people. It's just facts. That's what people prefer. Just facts. So the other way in which they make money is that they work both in private and in public. I told you the way in which you can do that in a legal manner, and that is by signing the RWOPS form if you are still working for government. Once you do that, then you are able to legally do that, work in government while you are working in your practice. The other thing is that if they won't keep their regular jobs as their full-time jobs in public, they will they will be part-time like doctors in public. So they will only come in to do calls in public. So they'll do their whole practice thing during the day, and then at night they do calls in a public hospital. The other thing is also to do the same thing, work in your GP practice while you also look for a job in a in a private casualty, where you're able to see private patients in casualty, consult them, and you get paid for that. You can also assist other specialists at night to make more money. So what other GPs do in order to make more money from this doctoring thing is to add, like I said, those specialist extra services to their practice. Like if you have an aesthetic section to your practice, then you can have people come do like dermaplaning, IV drips and stuff like that in your practice. So that's how you make extra money besides just getting money from like sick patients. Some GPs will do ECGs, some GPs will do scans and things like that, or have a diploma in like obstetrics and gynae and see those and do prenatal visits for patients. So if you are into ONG but you don't want to specialize, you can literally do a diploma in obs and gynae, and you don't even need the diploma, but a diploma, it's nice to have papers to show for whatever it is that you want to do. But yeah, so you can just get a scan so that you're able to do prenatal visit and prenatal scans of patients who come to your practice. And you find that medical aids will pay for these things, because sometimes they get resistant to, some medical aids are very problematic when it comes to consulting specialists. That's the other thing that becomes a barrier, hence why the GP path is so lucrative, is that sometimes medical aids also become a barrier, in that they'll say you have to have been seen by a GP before you actually visit a specialist, etc. So if you have a specialist, and if you're a GP and you're able to do all these things, then it's a bonus, it's a plus. And some people even make their practices comfortable for people, offer coffee, tea, make it aesthetically pleasing so that more people come into the practice. Yeah, there's no logic to that, guys. It's just business, Sometimes when the practice is so successful, you don't even need to be there as a GP. So some GPs will go open another practice in another town. And if their focus is small towns, and especially the way Eastern Cape is built, they can have a practice in Dordrecht and where Elliot, Yugi, etc., and just build a franchise of practices where they can even employ other doctors, where they can even, not even have to work. So once your practice is so well established, you can get to a place where you don't even have to go to work. You just have like regular MOs who come into locum, and you have full-time doctors who are working for your practice. So some people do that. Other people even expand their practice and turn it into medical suites, and like have a group like of doctors, and where it's like also a mini mediclinic type vibes, where there's a bunch of doctors working for them. So I think at that position and that point, that's when you would need a manager and someone to do your finances and etc. But I still feel like even as a GP, the most important thing that people tend to overlook is things like taxes and all of that. So that's another important thing that one has to have on the ball, even after having established their practice. So basically, as you can see, the world is definitely your oyster. Like I said, if you're seeing 10 people a day, 10 people, let's say your consultation is 500, right? Say 500 multiplied by 10 people, which is the minimum. And that is how much? That's like 5,000 Rand. So 5,000 Rand a day times 6 is 30K in a week. So 3, 6, 9, 12, around 120 a month. And that's excluding you having to have your main job. That's excluding you having to, also do calls in wherever you want to do calls, which is either public or private casualty. I feel like that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And most GPs, they see way more people. Like, I once locum from this one GP. I think in a day, that person would see, you guys, it becomes too much, man. He was seeing around 100, plus minus, let's say plus minus 70 to 100 people in one day. Now that person has clocked it, like clocked life. Imagine that. So let's calculate real quick, right? 100 people multiplied by 500. How much is that? 100 multiplied by 500 rand. That is almost, is it 50K? That's like 50K in a day. Who makes 50,000 in a day? Who makes 50,000 in working hours? I'm not talking about having to be a specialist who has to go and do an ORIF and have to go do a hip replacement, which take 3 to 5 hours in a day. I'm talking about regular, come in for 5 minutes, come see me for 5 to 10 minutes, and you go home. And I am at home at 5 o'clock to over 1 million in a month. That's over 1 million, excluding e-calls and all these other things that are happening. So you can even, pay people to come, assist in your GP practice. That's what I'm saying. The better and the more famous the practice becomes, the more easier it is to expand and employ other doctors, because it's a business at the end of the day. So yeah, anyways, that's how they make their money. It's just that's how they make their money. The other thing with the GPs that I feel I have to mention is the disadvantages of becoming a GP, right? So there's cons to this, right? So the cons to becoming a GP are that you stand the risk of becoming a bad GP. I don't know what happens to GPs. Ne? I think because there's no one supervising you and there's no one to report to, you can easily become a bad GP. And that happens by you losing your knowledge because there's no one to check you. Because if you're working in like a public institution with specialists and consultants, people are quick to check you, and especially if you're not going to be reading the up-to-date things, because medicine is an evolving field. So things are changing, diagnoses are changing, and sometimes if you're seeing a cough, a fever, and fake illness every day, because sometimes a lot of the patients that come to GP practices, people don't want to go to work and they pretend to be sick and etc. So if those are things you're seeing most of the time, you can easily miss pathologies. You can easily, lose your knowledge over time and end up guys, like mismanaging patients, keeping patients like serious pathologies without having to refer them to the correct specialty to evaluate them. Abanye bahlale with like something like a clean ulcer was, proper, that could have been managed earlier. Afikum to say need amputation after having gone for multiple visits to a GP. So a lot of these GPs tend to lose their knowledge. It's just how life happens. If you are not kept on your toes, and if you're not having ongoing academic meetings, reviving your knowledge, you're bound to lose your knowledge. It's just the fact of life. The other thing I feel is a disadvantage with GPing is the fact that you are also sort of like, I feel like when you're alone, you're an island. It's easier when you see something, you can bounce off of people. So that thing of being isolated can also, I feel, be lonely, in that you don't have someone else to sort of like reassure you or to ask, like, especially when you come across something that's, difficult and etc. So I feel like unless you're someone who works well on their own, then that's not a problem for you. And the con to GPing, I feel, is you can, with that amount of money and having to deal with or handle that amount of money, you can quickly become money orientated and lose your love for like medicine. It's an unfortunate thing, and I feel like it's gonna happen with this thing that's happening where there's shortage of posts, of medical officer posts in public hospitals. A lot of people are forced to become GPs very early in their careers, which I feel like it's unfortunate, because also we have to eat at the end of the day, guys. Like sizotini, guys. So with you having those basic needs in mind, you are forced to become a GP very early in your career, which I feel is something that's not so good, and it's a disadvantage. It's not something that I advocate for, especially because I personally know that there's so many things I did not know or understand during internship and comserve that only clicked when I became a medical officer. And having to have seen so many things, I gained experience with time. If you're gonna be like a brand new baby doctor and be put in a situation where you have to go stand on your own 2 feet, it becomes it becomes very dangerous. And I know some people will say, no, because young doctors, your memory is still fresh, blah, blah, blah. But some things, unfortunately, you can't read in a book, and some things come with experience. But other than that, the grass is definitely greener on the other side if it's your cup of tea, and if it's what you want to do in life, all the best. So a GP will have a medical practice number, which they get from HPCSA to see that they're registered, so that you don't go to fake doctors. So they have an MP number. After that MP number, doctors will have a practice number. Then that's how you know then that your GP is legit. And that's then how you know that you are being treated by someone who is fully registered and is not doing manga business. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions regarding the specialty, regarding GP, also if you want to remind me of topics to go into that I may have forgotten, make sure you comment down below, and I'll try to drop a video at least every week or every 2 weeks, like max every 2 weeks. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If I missed anything, you have any questions pertaining to the video, make sure you comment down below. Otherwise, I am signing out, and I will catch you on my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.